Back in the day, they didn't just build houses, they sculpted architectural marvels. Behold the Hall in Bradford on Avon, a Jacobean masterpiece whose iconic glass-filled facade shines as a testament to the brilliant craftsmanship of a bygone era. Imagine wandering its grand rooms, strolling through the magnificent grounds, and even experiencing a night within this historical gem.
We're incredibly privileged to have been invited by the Alex Moulton Charitable Trust to spend the weekend here at the Hall. We'll be staying in 2 of the 3 renovated spectacular bedrooms, delving into the history of the house and the families that not only shaped Bradford on Avon, but the world. So join us for what's going to be a spectacular weekend here in the English countryside.
In the heart of Bradford on Avon, a town once renowned for its thriving wool trade, rises the Hall. A beacon of Jacobean splendour. Built around 1620 by John Hall, his family roots stretch back to medieval times. They were integral to Bradford on Avon's prosperous wool and cloth industry for centuries. Today the property is looked after by the Alex Moulton Charitable Trust and open to visitors for house tours, events, and recently to experience unique overnight stays in this wonderful mansion. The Moulton family, owners of the Hall from the mid-19th century, produced 2 pioneering figures. Stephen Moulton introduced vulcanised rubber to Britain, fueling the Industrial Revolution. His great-grandson Alex Moulton revolutionised both car and bicycle design. First with the mini suspension, then with the iconic comfort and speed-focused Moulton bicycle. Visitors can explore 400 years of history and the enduring legacy of Alex Moulton, whose groundbreaking work continued here until his death in 2012. We are extremely lucky to have the whole weekend to share this wonderful place with you. Our adventure began with excitement and a small amount of trepidation on a wet and grey Friday evening. As we passed through the Eagle Gates and into the driveway at the rear of the house, it's important to point out that the Hall is not a hotel. There won't be a reception and check-in. There is no bar, dinner or cooked breakfast. This unique guest experience is for those seeking a country escape in one of the 3 newly renovated self-contained bedrooms, each a luxurious haven whispering tales of remarkable family members from the past. As the driveway was empty, it became apparent we had the whole place to ourselves for the night. A photograph of Dr. Alex Moulton greets you as you enter. Climbing the stairs, you pass photographs, memories and stories associated with the Moulton family. We'll see more of them later. Reaching the 3rd floor, we arrive at the dedicated entrance leading to our room. The landing features portraits, certificates and diplomas of the late Dr. Moulton, giving guests a taste of his illustrious career. The Moulton room was once his private main bedroom, the centrepiece of which is his huge mahogany 4-poster bed. Lovingly restored and reupholstered, the bed boasts a beautiful headboard and canopy draped in sumptuous fabrics. A deep hand-tufted mattress and quality bedding promise the perfect night's sleep. High ceilings and stained glass windows cast a warm glow, thickly draped curtains, a stately mahogany wardrobe, and a chaise longue offer plush comfort. A portrait of Alex hangs above it all, a room he often spent considerable time in, reading, writing and scribbling down new innovations. A small fridge provides complimentary drinks and alcohol. There is tea and coffee facilities. And a token array of breakfast items and snacks to enjoy. Located on the Moulton landing is a private white-tiled bathroom featuring a rainfall shower and toiletries. The property is just a 5-minute walk to the centre of town, so we popped into the local pub for a late dinner and a drink before settling in for the night in our own stately home. After an incredible sleep in the super comfy bed, we were up early to explore the gardens before visitors arrived for the 10 a.m. tour. This magnificent mansion with its soaring glass facade appeared around 1620, replacing an earlier house likely already owned by the Halls, its elegant stonework a testament to the family's rising fortunes. John and his family were not just wealthy landowners, they were integral to Bradford-on-Avon's prosperous wool industry since the 1100s. The town's affluence is reflected in the grandeur of its architecture. Through inheritance, marriage and shrewd acquisitions, the family's influence only grew. For centuries, the rhythm of Bradford-on-Avon echoed with the hum of looms and the thrashing of water at the fulling mills. Skilled hands transformed raw wool into luxurious broadcloth, destined for London's dye houses and the backs of well-heeled gentlemen across Europe. The mills the Halls controlled ran along the river in front of the property. After John Hall died in 1631, the mansion passed down the male line. The last member of the Hall family, another John, died in 1710. With no legitimate heirs to continue the family line, the estate passed to his illegitimate daughter Rachel Bainton of Great Chalfield. Rachel married William Pierrepont, the Duke of Kingston, when she was just 15 years old. They had 2 children, and their son Evelyn inherited the Hall in 1722, and the property was subsequently renamed Kingston House. A prominent Georgian socialite renowned for his dashing looks, as a young man, his desirability made him a scandalous catch when he began an illicit relationship with Elizabeth Chudley. Still legally married to Augustus John Hervey, although separated, Elizabeth was notorious with her daring masquerade costumes and a decade younger than the Duke. They lived together unmarried for nearly 20 years before secretly being wed in 1769. The second bedroom, restored and available to stay in, is inspired by that story, and it's here we'll spend the second night of our stay. A vibrant floral heritage wallpaper creates a gorgeously cosy ambience. The lovingly restored sitting area with its rescued sofa and chair look out onto the garden through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Notice a restored Stephen Moulton archive box, a recent discovery from the servants' quarters, adding a touch of history. Incidentally, we will see areas of the house not open to the public, including the servants' quarters and the roof, later in the video. A charming iron-framed super king-size bed with another deep, most comfortable mattress promises another good night's sleep. A mahogany-stained wardrobe and a vintage elm writing desk complete the furnishings. The bathroom is almost ensuite and again follows the same design and quality fittings of the Moulton bathroom. The couple's illicit activities sparked Elizabeth's sensational trial for bigamy, one of the defining events of the Georgian era. Held in Westminster Palace with Queen Charlotte herself in attendance, the trial was a spectacle. Thousands of tickets were sold. Elizabeth became the first woman tried and convicted of this crime. Though found guilty, she escaped the brutal punishment of hand burning by claiming her privilege as a peeress. Stripped of her title and the Kingston marriage, she fled to Europe. Ever uninhibited, the former Duchess lived a lavish later life in St. Petersburg and Paris. England's most notorious woman of the time died in 1788 at the age of 67, allegedly from a fit of rage after losing a property tied to the Duke's fortune.
It's actually so nice walking around at this time of the day before all of the guests arrive for tours and to have a look around the grounds. So peaceful at this time of the morning. So as a guest here staying overnight, with only 3 rooms, you get the place pretty much to yourself, which is fantastic.
After Elizabeth's death, the hall passed to Evelyn's nephew, Charles Meadows, but he had no need for it, so it was sold in 1805 to London industrialist Thomas Divett, who transformed the landscape and replaced the old grist mill with the huge Kingston mill. Whilst much of this area has been redeveloped into residential properties, part of the historic buildings can still be seen today beside the town bridge that crosses the River Avon. Now shops and restaurants, and a fitting place for us to have dinner this evening. Once grand Kingston House became a workshop, store and weavers' quarters, and sadly by 1848 it had fallen into a state of decay and dilapidation. This drawing shows the layout of the house and gardens in 1841, with a large proportion planted as an orchard and several workshops and yard buildings. The winds of change swept across Britain as the Industrial Revolution dawned. The familiar rhythms of home-based crafts were shattered by the relentless clatter of machines in the 1790s. This upheaval brought prosperity for some, but ruin for others. The tide of mechanicalisation was unstoppable, and displaced workers faced a bleak future. Fashion shifted towards lighter fabrics, and the Bradford-on-Avon's traditional goods fell from favour. Yet from this hardship, Kingston House was reborn. Stephen Moulton's entrepreneurial spirit led him to America with his wife Elizabeth. He pursued business interests and formed a connection with Charles Goodyear, the inventor of vulcanised rubber. Having had 5 children, they returned to England with a licence and saw potential amidst the vacant mills and willing workers. Over 2 years, he meticulously restored the dilapidated mansion, transforming the gardens and moving the entrance from the south to the north, putting in the driveway we arrived from. The family also grew by another 4, making a total of 9 children. Creating his business here would transform the town into a rubber production hub, employing many of the local community. They were successful with multiple patents, notably waterproof capes for soldiers in the Crimea War, and worked with Brunel, providing rubber rings for the masts on his Great Eastern ship. In 1891, 11 years after Stephen Moulton's death, his son Horatio was running the business and merged with London-based engineers George Spencer, forming Spencer Moulton & Co. With the railway industry booming, they concentrated on providing rubber suspension systems and components for railway carriages. John Moulton, Stephen's youngest, took over just years later when Horatio died. He would have 2 children, another John and Charles, known as Eric. This John would be the father of Dr. Alex Moulton and also responsible for changing the name back to the Hall. We'll be back to see more of the gardens later, but now let's have a look around the rooms open to the public and discover more about its last owner, Dr. Alex Moulton. Our first room is where the visitor tour starts and is the most original from the period the Hall family lived here. Formerly the Great Parlour, the incredible fireplace is sculpted with John and Elizabeth Hall's busts and two of their children. The fruit represents bountifulness. The wonderful ceiling features strapwork and grotesque masks, which were popular during the Jacobean period. Alex Moulton used this room as a study and had the stage-like steps added to elevate the seating area so that he could look out of the window whilst working or relaxing. The room has a smoky, musty smell, and this is believed to be from when it was used as a wool store during the time the Divots rented space out by the room. The lanolin impregnated in the wood panelling, helping preserve them but smelling slightly. The entrance hall has changed over the years, and as we mentioned, Stephen Moulton reversed the entry to the house to be via the north and not from the grand south entrance. This is how the room looked in the early 1900s. The walls are adorned with paintings and photographs of many family members from the Halls to the Moultons, many of the pictures we've shown you as we spoke of the history. Alex was born in 1920, the third child of John and Beryl. He studied mechanical engineering at Cambridge. This was interrupted by World War II, but during this time he gained valuable experience working on aircraft engines at Bristol Airplane Engine Company with Roy Fedden. Returning home after the war, he joined the family business and continued in engineering, focusing on rubber-to-metal bonding, a technique crucial for his later inventions. He found time to return to Cambridge and finish his degree before developing the Flexitor suspension, which became widely used on road trailers, the Bond minicar and the Austin Gypsy. In the mid-1950s, Alex developed an experimental rubber suspension which was successfully tested on a Morris Minor. He formed a strong friendship with Alec Izigonis, project manager at Morris Motors. The family business was not doing well and in 1956 acquired by the Avon Rubber Company. He established Moulton Developments to concentrate on creative design and suspension systems for vehicles, continuing to work with Izigonis to produce his revolutionary hydroelastic and hydrogas suspension systems. They would be fitted on 12 million cars from 1959 to 2002, first on the Morris 1100 in 1962, then the iconic Mini designed by Alec Izigonis from 1964, right up to the mid-engined MGF sports car in 1995 to 2002. In the 1960s, over one-third of cars sold in the UK were riding on Moulton suspension systems. Alex took a royalty from each unit fitted, and this would allow him to live comfortably. Let's move upstairs to the Oak Room. On the way there are many photos and drawings to view, but one of particular interest shows a photograph of the hall in Paris. The 1900 Paris exhibition was a world fair held in France from the 14th of April to the 12th of November, and the British Pavilion was modelled on the hall. Quite staggering that they went to all this effort to recreate it, and picking the hall as the showcase building just goes to show how highly regarded it was at the time. The Oak Room allows us to continue the life story of Alex, as it's filled with items from his next innovation passion, the development of the first Moulton bike. The design of the bicycle had not changed for over 60 years, and he felt the classic diamond-shaped frame was inconvenient to mount, difficult to adjust for size, not suitable for both sexes, and so he looked at ways to improve it. The original Moulton bicycle was launched at the 1962 Earl's Court Cycle Show, offering a radical departure from the classic bicycle, featuring small, high-pressured tyres, front and rear suspension, and a distinctive F-frame that was one size to fit all. It became a symbol of the swinging 60s and a testament to British ingenuity. Alex's prolific creativity extended far beyond his revolutionary bicycle design. He was interested in motorbikes, built a steam car in his early years, moving on to steam boats and boating in general later in life. He worked on coach safety, developing a prototype Moulton coach following a spate of terrible accidents in the late 60s. Throughout his career, he managed to amass 148 patents. This silver Moulton was a 90th birthday gift from his beloved bike company. Even at such a remarkable age, Alex remained an avid cyclist, regularly taking laps on a track around the grounds. His passion for innovation burned bright. He unveiled a new three-wheel bike design, see the sketches here, shortly before he passed in 2012. Whilst the popularity of Moulton bikes has been up and down over the decades, they continue to be valued for their comfort and unique design. In 2008, he partnered with Pashley Cycles to form the Moulton Bicycle Company. This revitalised production, which was based in Stratford-upon-Avon. The fireplace overmantel in the Oak Room is made of wood rather than stone, and contains another 2 coats of Hall's arms. Again, it's extraordinary that this has survived the centuries. Let's move into the Great Chamber, now called the Tapestry Room. Alex's father died when he was just 6. Born in Stratford-upon-Avon, he was brought up at the Hall by his mother Beryl and grandmother Alice. Alice died of cancer in 1941, and the property passed jointly to Alex and his brother John and his sister Dion. During the war, the house was requisitioned by the War Office and used by evacuee expectant mothers from the East End of London, and for other military needs. In 1939, the family were short of money to maintain the property, and some of the contents were sold off. In 1948, Alex bought out his siblings to solely own the family estate. They had children and homes of their own. He was on his own and had a great sentimental attachment to the property. His mother remained here with him. Whilst many heirlooms were sold or passed down, he made a point of preserving these 3 tapestries, which had been found rolled up in the cellar by Stephen Moulton, a poignant reminder of the property's rich history dating back to the Hall family. They are 17th century Flemish tapestries depicting the Trojan Wars with a tulip border. The wood panelling in this room was made in 1905 by the estate carpenter, and the ceiling is a Victorian replacement. Two other items Stephen Moulton found when he moved in were these busts of King Charles I and II. The Hall family were royalists to the extent that they were recruiting soldiers for the king's cause. When the parliamentarians won, they were fined, but the house was never confiscated. It's believed that when the monarchy was restored, these two busts were commissioned by the family. A bronze bust of Alex is by the famous sculptor David Backhouse. The plaster sculpture beside it was found in the loft, believing to be something Alex's sister created, not related to the Backhouse piece. This gold object is the millionth hydroelastic spring made and presented to him by Dunlop. The Moulton bicycle is a 1/15th scale model and was presented to him in 1965 by a friend to commemorate the first new bike design in 60 years. The tapestry room was once his grandparents' bedroom, and when Alex redecorated, he laid this out with a Victorian Edwardian feel in homage to his loved ones. This has been recreated by the Trust using this painting of Alex with his mother. We now step into Alex's sitting room, a vibrant contrast to the previous space. It exudes a distinct 60s and 70s vibe. He appreciated good design, and the furnishings reflect this with high-quality pieces from iconic brands of the era, like these classic Eames lounge chairs. His taste for cutting-edge technology is also evident in the Quad Garrard Music Centre, with quad electrostatic speakers, truly state-of-the-art for their time. The niches in this room are an original feature and bear a striking resemblance to those at Montague House in Somerset. Master mason William Arnold, who built Montague House, may well have also constructed the hall, although no records exist to confirm this. A large library of books fed his insatiable desire to read and learn. Two striking Tristram Hillier paintings hang in this room. Alex commissioned the first in 1952, just 4 years after moving in. It shows the Kingston Mill, part of his family business along the river, with the house in the background. In 1965, he commissioned a second piece with a different perspective. This includes his successful bike business. The restored stables that we'll see later became the offices of Moulton Developments, and the bike factory is at the top of the hill. The mill is missing as the business was sold in 1956. Alex and Sir Roy Fedden enjoyed a lifelong friendship forged during World War II when they collaborated on critical aircraft engine design. Fedden's post-war vision of a technologically advanced car led him to enlist Moulton's expertise in creating a unique suspension system. Though the Fedden car never reached mass production, their work was a significant engineering milestone. Winston Churchill had tasked Fedden to examine German aircraft factories after the war to assess potential technological advancements for the UK. It's believed Fedden brought back these V1 and V2 models, later gifting them to Alex Moulton. Moving back downstairs, the last room on the house tour is the dining room. which would have once been part of the main entrance hall but was partitioned across, hence the fireplace is not central. The overmantel has an oversized egg and dart moulding around a recessed circle. Alex's mother's maiden name was Green, and her family coat of arms are in the circle. Stephen Moulton's coat of arms are above the doorway, so it's reasonable to believe that he added the wall. The feature we enjoyed the most in this room was the mural, commissioned by Alex in the 1970s and painted by Graham Rust, showing various parts of the estate and landscapes of the town, and a wonderful painting of the front of the house. The people shown are members of the Moulton family, close friends and staff, including Alec Izigonis, Roy Fedden and many more people important to him. In the boat is Brian Cottrell, his draftsman from the early designs of the bicycle. Graham would come back occasionally, adding to the mural over the years, including when Concorde flew over the town for the last time on its way to Bristol in 2003, and when a stray cat called Toby befriended Alex in 1997. They were besotted with each other. Toby would join important meetings with Alex, and a huge 9-foot tunnel through the north face of the hall was cut so Toby could reach the kitchen and the warm Aga. A sign was placed outside to ensure cars were aware he might pop out. The Eric Room located on the ground floor holds a special place in the hall's history. Once the house staff office, it is now the third of the renovated bedrooms you can stay in, and pays tribute to Charles Eric Moulton, Alex's uncle and the second son of John and Alice. Known as Eric, he served as a lieutenant in the Wiltshire Regiment 6th Battalion, making the ultimate sacrifice during the Battle of the Somme in 1915 at the young age of 26. Inspired by Eric's courage, the Trust has woven the colours of his uniform into the room's warm and inviting decor. Through careful restoration of chairs, tables and other historical pieces, they honour his memory. The addition of a king-sized bed with a luxurious tufted mattress offers modern comfort. The ensuite bathroom with its green tiles and spacious rainfall shower beautifully occupies the space where a majestic fireplace once stood. We still have areas of the house off limits to the public to explore, but back in the gardens there are several areas of interest and curiosities to explain. Many of you may well arrive at the hall from the Kingston Road entrance, and it's here you can see the Dovecote, which was in fact a 17th century wool drying store during John Hall's time. Stephen Moulton preserved it when he cleared and restored the land. It later became a gardener's cottage on the estate. Stephen was responsible for planting the magnificent Californian redwoods that still stand tall today. However, it was his sons Horatio and John who shaped the garden we admire now. John sought to enhance the estate's beauty and focused on the east side where Kingston Farm once stood. He repurposed the area, demolishing an old dye house and creating a charming Dutch garden with greenhouses and a lovely stone shelter. Whilst the peach house and the orchard house are sadly gone, the shelter still remains. And this is John Moulton here in 1900. The wonders of photography again allow us to see what this area was like on a snowy morning. John Moulton's vision extended further. He crafted a landscaped garden cascading down to the mill stream and River Avon. This was the boathouse that is being restored. It was from here that Alex would launch his steamboats. The rock garden and the temple are a work in progress to restore. More recently, the Japanese ponds have been reinstated, but there is still much work for the Trust to do in the gardens. Ahead of us and to the east of the house is the stable yard that was converted from the old farm buildings in 1901 by Alex's grandfather. They date from the late 17th century and were probably built by the last John Hall. This photo gives us an idea of what they looked like in 1901. Alex set up Moulton developments in these buildings, and it was here that the first Moulton bicycles were made. So successful he quickly needed more space, and by 1961 they'd built the factory at the top of the hill. A lifelong friend, Anthony Best, joined Alex as chief engineer of Moulton Developments in 1967 and worked out of the stables. This slightly more modern building was added in 1969 as a drawing room and office meeting space. The bicycle business had its ups and downs, and seeking to expand their range, Raleigh Industries acquired the Moulton bicycle business in 1967. Alex stayed involved as a consultant, and Raleigh initially continued to produce successful Moulton models. However, growing competition in the small wheel market and Raleigh's focus on mass market bikes like the Chopper made the Moulton an increasingly awkward fit. Ultimately, Raleigh sold the Moulton designs and patents back to Alex in 1974. This allowed him to continue developing his unique bicycles, leading to the iconic Moulton space frame. After more financial woes in 1982, Alex sold the bicycle factory on the hill to Tony Best, as he was starting a new venture called AB Dynamics, which became famous in its own right. They operated from the factory until they moved a mile away to a purpose-built facility in 2015. The Moulton Bicycle Company bought the building back in 2022 so they could restart production of the standard Moulton bikes in the original factory. The specialist custom bikes are still made in the stables. Back at the rear of the house, let's take a peek below stairs, accessing hidden areas of the building the public never gets to see. Behind the scenes, another world exists. This eagle range is stunning and looks like it's in pretty good condition. Originally supplied by the Eagle Range and Foundry Company on Regent Street, London.
Maybe that was the bell for ringing the door to get in. It's quite a large one. It's got a few different bells actually. Stephen Moulton and Co on them.
This was the coke store. You can see the hole where the coal would drop into this room and go into boilers or the cooking ranges. This was Alex Moulton's kitchen and used by the few staff that he had. As you can see, he spent more time innovating than worrying about the modernisation of the house. This area is used still as a kitchen for the Trust staff when they're on site at the premises. We would have found Toby near the Argus some 15 years ago. Through a dark passageway and clinging to a ladder, we pop up onto the roof for a very different perspective. In the distance, but just 5 minutes away, is the wonderful town. We came to Bradford on Avon 2 years ago and made a comprehensive guide covering the attractions and historical sites here. There is so much to see and do, and a beautiful canal to walk by. Do check out that video to give you a complete picture of this gorgeous part of Wiltshire and the southernmost point of the Cotswolds. The link will be at the end. It would be remiss of us not to pay our respects to Alex and the rest of the Moulton family. His funeral took place on Wednesday the 19th of December 2012 at the Holy Trinity Church in the centre of Bradford on Avon. His funeral was attended by Moultoneers from all over the world. The Holy Trinity is quite a delightful church to visit. We would have liked to have found some reference to the Hall family here at the church, but sadly we're unable to locate anything. For such a prominent family, I'm sure there are some memorials or graves here. Alex was later interred in the family grave at Christ Church in the same town beside his grandfather Stephen Moulton, who founded the Moulton dynasty in this Wiltshire town in 1848. Do pop inside the church, as you'll also find a chapel dedicated to the memory of Eric Moulton.
Well, that's it from the hall and here at Bradford on Avon. We've had an absolutely fantastic time. Thank you so much to the Alex Moulton Charitable Trust for inviting us down for the weekend. We hope you come and stay here as well. There is more on the channel, so please check out our playlists. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do it right now. And we'll see you again on another fantastic video in the future. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.